Hi everybody, welcome back to the channel on this beautiful Tuesday afternoon, and today we are talking about Sunation Energy. And this stock has been bouncing around the last 5 days, is up 25%. Now this thing actually was up over 50% and then it sold off. So it's going to be very volatile, first of all. Always consider risk, always consider these things when you're investing in penny stocks, because penny stocks are notorious for high risk, high reward. Yes, you can make a lot of money, but you can also lose a lot of money. So please keep that in mind before we move forward. Now, first thing to remember here is that this company is less than $1 million market cap. Okay, so when you look at the actual total market valuation, that actually went down from yesterday. So it's not even $1 million. It's, or actually, I guess it's 824,000 is what it is right now. So that shows you that this is a very small market cap company. Now, this one is traded on the NASDAQ. As you can see, NASDAQ traded, and it's trading right around 40 cents a share. Now, if we look at the total shares outstanding, you'll see there's only 1.8 million shares outstanding. What does that mean? It means this thing has a very small float. And when you have a small float on a penny stock, it often means that these things can move very fast. However, right now, we're kind of just floating around this range here and not really doing too much. In the past month, though, you'll see a much different story. That's just as of the last week. As of the last month, you'll see this thing is down over 65%. So not good at all, right? Over the last 6 months, 94, 95%. So you'll see why there's a lot of risk associated with something like this, because over the last 6 months, you're down 94%. Year to date, you're down 84%. In the last 1 year, 99%. Now, you can see a ridiculous amount that it was trading at just last year, actually. Less than 1 year ago, this was trading at almost $200 per share. So if you were to do the math on, even like a $50 per share price or whatever, the market cap would have to jump up from under 2 million where it is right now, or under 1 million actually, to over, what is it, $50 a share times this many shares outstanding would just tell you how much it is. Close to like 90 million, a $90 million market cap, even to hit like, let's say, $50 a share. So could that happen? Yes, it could happen on a parabolic run, on a short squeeze or something, and that's really where your opportunity is with these stocks, because the idea is, this thing is sold off so much that maybe we get a rebound. And that's really what your play is, right? You're basically gambling, you're rolling the dice, you're hoping that this thing will go up eventually and that you'll be able to make your money back because it's sold off so much. Now, the last reverse split this thing has done, if you look at when the reverse split, this is a major risk to consider as well. TNXP, we did a 10X on TNXP, and then afterwards they did a reverse split. But when you were watching my videos, if you remember, on that stock, it was great to make that quick 10X, but after, before the reverse split happened, I was warning everybody. I said, look, there very well could be a reverse split, and a lot of people seem to dismiss that, but unfortunately, that's exactly what happened. They already did a reverse split here. It looks like Sunation Energy 1 for 50. That was on October 17th, 2024. It was a 1 for 50 reverse split. So that's part of this company's strategy. So for every 50 shares held, you received 1 share. But this is common with penny stocks, right? It's a common risk, and especially when these are traded on the NASDAQ, the reason they do these reverse splits is because they want to maintain their listing. They do not want to get off the NASDAQ. So if they cannot maintain $1 per share and this thing does not go back above $1, you might see another reverse split. So just keep that in mind. Now, here's some recent news. So we have some leadership changes with this stock, and this came out recently. So this actually came out on March 17th. It looks as though they are strategic transformation with a new leadership change, optimizing capital structure to enhance its market position. The company aims to grow through acquisitions of regional solar companies and strategic mergers, focusing on long-term success and sustainable business models. Sunation Energy is a leading provider of residential and commercial solar energy, battery storage, and grid service solutions, operating primarily in New York, Florida, and Hawaii under Sunation, Hawaii Energy Connection, and E-Gear brand names. It shows you the year-to-date price performance according to this website. Average trading volume of 20 million shares. Now, if you look at the actual news in terms of who came on, it looks like James Brennan is now the CFO. So this is who's coming on as the new chief financial officer for Sunation Energy. So they do have some leadership changes, it looks like. James Brennan will be the CFO of this company. But once again, looking at the share structure, less than $1 million market cap. Remember that, because when you're looking at less than $1 million market cap and you're also looking at only 1.8 million shares outstanding, that can get really crazy really quickly, right? So That's kind of where we're at right now. And it's just one of those things to keep in mind. So Sunation Energy clears $9.4 million in debt ahead of schedule. So they're clearing up their balance sheet. A key player in the solar energy sector has announced the full repayment of $9.4 million in senior and junior secured loans well before their due dates between July 25 and June 2027. The company confirmed today that the loan settlements have terminated the related agreements, ceased monthly payments, and lifted certain restrictive covenants that were part of the loan terms. According to Investing Pro data, the company currently maintains a market capitalization of just $0.58 million as of when this came out, with a total debt to capital ratio of 0.97 as of last quarter. And so the early debt repayment is set to alleviate the company's annual financial burden by roughly $3.4 million through 2027, which will allow. This also follows Sunation's successful equity financing round on February 27th, 2025, in which they raised $15 million in gross proceeds. So they raised $15 million in gross proceeds. This is kind of an AI summary of the news as well. So it looks like they cash savings of approximately $3.4 million through 2027. They also recently completed $15 million in equity financing. The first tranche was consummated on February 27th, 2025. And so it's deleveraged the company's balance sheet, which is what you want to see long term, improving cash flow for operations and providing financial flexibility for future growth initiatives, including potential strategic acquisitions of regional solar companies across the United States. So this kind of gives you an idea of what's happening over here. Negative, it says there could be significant shareholder dilution from $15 million in equity financing. So always remember, anytime you're dealing with something like equity financing, you can see dilution. Even with debt financing, with certain types of debt, convertible debt financing, that can also impact your shareholder dilution. So kind of looking over all this, though, this is some of the recent news that's come out for Sunation Energy. And you might be wondering, why am I talking about this stock? Here's some more news, it looks like, on February 27th that came out regarding securing $20 million in gross proceeds through a registered direct offering, which can enhance its financial position and enhance or support operations. So yeah, going over that news there. But this is some of the most recent news. As you can see, here's the reverse stock split as of June 12th. They did another one before the 1 for 50 came in October. This was actually last year as well, though, 1 for 15. So they've done multiple reverse splits. Just keep that in mind in terms of the risk of this stock. But you might be wondering, why Sunation Energy? Well, I find this one interesting. I look at it from a supply-demand perspective. I saw this one trending actually a couple days ago. It was number one on the list, and so it actually had rallied big time. And since then, it's been kind of down. So it's been floating around. The last week, it is positive, up 20%. Today, though, I mean, look at that, just brutal, down 14%. So that just shows you really have to be careful, and you have to make sure that this is something you want to risk, right? I would only put in what you can afford to lose, because these penny stocks can get volatile very quickly. But this one was, in fact, trending just a couple days ago, and so this one is kind of on the top of the list in terms of trending stocks, even though it's been so volatile. You can see, the last 5 days it shot up from 28 cents. Now it's up to, hit 74 cents per share briefly, and then sold off. Now, one more thing we can look at, which I actually have not looked at yet, is the short interest. And just kind of looking at what kind of short interest we have on this stock, because that can also tell us about the potential of a short squeeze and what we might be looking at if we get some, let's say, more positive news and stuff, or developments that may happen for this company. And I encourage you to research this company, the fundamentals. It is an energy company, solar based, and it's, there's a lot to consider here in terms of the fundamentals and the actual business model itself. But if we look over at the short interest right now, you can see that it looks as though there's actually not a terribly amount of people short. It looks like less than 10% is what we're looking at here. Short interest per 8.74%. So it says 4.22 million shares on the float in terms of FinViz. So I'm not sure exactly which number is right, because it does say the market cap here is 1.72 million. So maybe the market cap is over 1 million, but it's not quite 2 million, right? So we still have a very low market cap, and we still have a very small float. Now, does that get diluted with the equity financing? Perhaps, right? But could there be another reverse split? Sure, especially if they can't maintain that $1 per share. But if some positive developments happen, could there be, a large share price move from, let's say, under 50 cents to $2-3 a share, sure, that could happen as well. We've seen that happen. And as you can see, the 52-week range has been a ridiculous amount with all the splits involved, from 16 cents to $313. That's what you're looking at, split adjusted. But in terms of the actual shares on the float, keep an eye on this, but it's really not that bad. If you do see a large amount of shares being shorted, that could be a sign, once again, of a short squeeze potentially happening. So that is something to consider. But yeah, guys, let me know what you think of this company. Like I said, I found this on the trending list, and I found it interesting. Very low market cap, very low float. Less than 2 million market cap regardless. Now, this one says under 1 million still, according to Google. So, FinViz is telling us a market cap of over 1 million. Regardless, though, we have low shares outstanding, a low share structure, and it is possible that you could see a parabolic move here, especially as they push to get this above $1 and back in compliance with the NASDAQ rule, which states that you have to maintain a bid price of $1 plus. So that could be interesting to see, what happens here. I encourage you to research the company more yourself, though. Once again, I just found this on the trending list, and I thought I'd share this with you guys because I like to talk about different stocks on the channel. And with that being said, thank you so much for tuning in. We will see you guys in the next video, and take care out there.